Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Radia. I'm from group 9. So for today, I'm going to explain you about morphonemics. Okay, morphonemics is a general term referring to processes affecting the phonological shape of morpheme and sequence of morphemes. In other words, morphonemics. When we talk about morphonemics, we study to the relationship between morphology and phonology. And morphonemics involves an investigation of the phonological variation within morphemes, usually marking different grammatical functions. The example is sleep and slap. In the sleep is as a verb 1 and the slap as a verb 2. Sleep and slap is a morphological example and also included the phonological rules. The next is been and bound. Been and bound has the same meaning but different sounds. And the next is phonological rules. For phonological rules is a neutralization rules. It turns out there are two simple phonological rules responsible for the variation observed. First, obstruents are devoiced in word final position. The example in the cap and cap. In the cap is the last letter is P and the cap in the last letter is B. They have different in the final position. And the second is certain vowels are reduced when they are unstressed. The example is important. And finally, natural phonological change is obstruents devising word final position and vowel neutralization in unstressed syllable. Okay, the next is types of morphonemics rules. For the types of morphological rules, linguists have given special names to some of the most common morphonemic changes, at least to the more natural ones. In this section, we discuss of the most frequent ones. Okay, the first is assimilation. Assimilation, it means that the sounds become more alike. Example, lay and play. They have a different letter, but the pronouns A, they have a set. Lay and play. And the second is dogs and cats. In the dogs and cats, in the last letter, added the S because in the morphological, it means that the S is a plural form of the dogs and cats. And the second is dissimilation. Dissimilation means that sounds becoming less alike. A similar example is the common pronunciation diphthongs, where the first fricative becomes a stop before another fricative. And linguists use the term autodescriptive for linguistic terms that illustrate themselves. Linguistic terms can often be made autodescriptive by slight distortions. For example, in this case, for dissimilation. And the next is insertion. Insertion. When a vowel is inserted, this is usually called apenthesis from the Greek term, or svarabhakti from the Sanskrit term. Anaepthesis, if a short vowel is inserted. Of insertion occurs at the beginning of a word, it called prothesis. Example, D in rendition, H in orthogenous, ash in insertions, T and in reunionis. And the fourth is deletion. Deletion is the opposite of insertion. Deletion of an initial sound is called apraxis, as in around for around, round for round. They delete the first letter from the round to make a round. And deletion of a medial sound is called syncope. Apocope is a deletion of a final sound, as in child and child. Of or development of friends, called so from caldo by deletion of both O, and D. Okay, I think that's all. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Yuni Kartika. I'm from Group 9. The member are Radia, Adelia Endang Widya Stuti, Anissa Aulia Rahmi, Rizky Anissa Putri, and me. And I will continue the material from Radia about the types of morphonemics rules. There are 10 the types of morphonemics rules, namely assimilation, dissimilation, deletion, insertion, haplology, metathesis, vowel harmony, vowel reduction, tone rules, and morpheme sequence rules. But I just explained 6 the types of morphonics rules because about dissimilation, assimilation, deletion, and insertions explained by Radia before me. So let's check the first material. For the first is haplology. Haplology is the deletion of sound or syllable which is similar to an adjacent sound or syllable. For example, haplology become haplogy. The second is metathesis. The interchange of two sounds is a metathesis. The example is prescription is pronoun prescriptions, or conversely, when perception is pronoun perception. And third is vowel harmony. Vowel harmony is a type of assimilation which takes place when vowels come to share certain feature with contrastive vowel elsewhere in a word or phrase. For example, a front vowel in the first syllable of a word would require the presence of a front vowel in the second syllable. And for the fourth, vowel reduction, this type of process is also illustrated in English, where completely unstressed syllable can have only the vowels e, or in some dialect only except in word final position, where a special lightening rule applies. For example, the second syllable of proclamation, which contains compared to the second syllable of proclaim, which contains a. And once this syllable has been distressed, it can no longer contain a full vowel. And 5, turn rules. A further type of morphonics rules is turn rules. Turn rules is a side or chain to morphemes in order to derive a different morphological category. And the last is morpheme sequence rules. Rules that alter the sequence of morpheme in a word appear occasionally in language. For example, in Cocteau, visually talk, and in English, I saw, and in Cocteau, is pizza, and in English, you see. The regular order of morphemes is subject, object, verb stem and tense, but if the subject is first person singular, it appears immediately after the verb stem. Okay, I think that's all with my explanation. The next material will be continued by Anissa Aulia Rahmi. I'm so sorry for my mistake. Let's say wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Anissa Aulia Rahmi. So I'm from PBI 1. So now I will handle the next part. It's about an illustrative example. So we can illustrate a variety of types of morphophonemics processes by considering the problems in your book. You can read the book page 165. So from the problem, arising is a relatively natural rule. Deletion of a vowel and insertion of a glide are fairly natural ways of dealing with hiatus, the clash of two vowels, but a clash of two A is resolved either by insertion or by deletion. The interaction of arising with I deletion is such that I, which serves to condition the rising, is subsequently dropped. Similarly, the interaction of stress shift arising and E deletion results in a binary stress A that represents not the final stress E of the stem but the affix. So using an illustrative example can help us to better understand the purpose of the material we are learning. And the next is criteria for lexical and post-lexical rules. So in terms of the lexical models of morphology developed in morphological rules and phonological rules that depend on morphological categories apply in the lexicon, while phonological rules that do not depend on morphological categories apply post-lexically. As you can see in this PowerPoint, there are different differences between lexical rules and post-lexical rules. So I will illustrate each of these concepts using the English rule of three-syllabic lexing as an example of lexical rule, and for post-lexical rules I will use flapping and aspiration. So for the first is word bounded. Lexical rules is word bounded and post-lexical rules is not word bounded. So three-syllabic lexing is clearly word bounded, but is not in the phrase count on it. For example, is heedlessness. This word is unaffected, and flapping and aspiration are not word bounded. They apply because they apply to phrases. And the next is access to word internal structure assigned same level, and post-lexical rules is assessed to praise structure and segmental information only. It means such cyclic rules as stress in English refer to word internal structure, so that stress apply differently to nouns and verbs, and for post-cyclic rules cannot refer to word internal structure but they can refer to praise structure. And the next is cyclic lexical rules is cyclic, and post-lexical rules is apply once. It means the cyclic of three-syllabic lexing can be shown by the contrast between hypocrisy and hypothesis. A cyclic rule apply after each morphological operation in the lexicon, and also can apply only to an environment that is derived on that cycle. In hypothesis, there is only one cycle, that on which the prefix hypo is attached to the stem thesis, and hypocrisy undergoes two cycles. And the next is apply lexical rules apply in derived environments, and post-lexical rules apply across the board. It means lexical rules only apply in derived environments. Three-syllabic lexing applies to sanity, which is derived from sane at level 1, attaching the suffix et, while post-lexical rules do not have access to word internal structure and apply equally to derived and non-derived environment. They only apply across the board. And the next lexical rules is structure preserving, and post-lexical rules is not necessarily structure preserving. It means lexical rules are structure preserving in the sense that they do not introduce new segments or structures that do not occur in underived lexical items. Three-syllabic lexing produced short vowels as I in sanity, which also occurs in simple words like cat. And flapping produced the flap, which doesn't occur in the underlying form of English word. And aspiration produced aspirated segment p, t, k, which again are not part of underlying representations of English word. So that's why post-lexical rules are need not be structure preserving. And the last is lexical rules may have exception, and post-lexical rules not automatic. It means lexical rules can have exceptions. Exceptions to three-syllabic lexing include obese plus et, and for post-lexical rules they do not have exceptions. They are automatic, and this in the sense that if the condition for the rule appear in phonetic forms, the rule necessarily applies. I think that's all, and thank you, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Adelia Stuti. Okay, I will continue the next material. It's about morphological rule and phonological rule, and also rules invention. So the first is morphological rule. What is morphological rule? Morphological rule is a linguistic rule for the formation of words, and in morphological rule it also related with phonological rule. So the word is like between the phonological rule affected the change on a word in morphological in the lexicon, and it derives a new meaning. For example, in the German language, for the singular form of man, and it changed become man plus er for the plural, and also the word ke in German language or Karl, it also changed for plural form become ke plus e, and the word fudge or fox in English for plural form in German fudge plus e. So it also there is a prefix. And then the next is about rule inversion. So what is rule inversion? Rule inversion is a rule that becomes lexically and inverted in some or all environment where it applies. It is also, there is an example in German language. For example, there are two types. The first is original rule and inverted rule. For original rule, the word example is senden becomes sended. The word e in word senden change into sended become a sandate. So it is the original rule. And for the inverted rule, the form is b can change become a or c. For example, send sand change become send send. So in inverted rule also there is a change of the word from a become e. So between original rule and inverted rule there is an opposite. That's all from my explanation, and the next material will be continued by my friend.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Rizky Anissa Putri. I'm from PBI 1 2018. Now I will tell you about our material. The title is Morphonemics, and I will explain you about chapter 9.7. It's about truncation. You know what is truncation? Isaachenko in 1969 introduced a type of morphological operation that doesn't result in new categories, which he called truncation. And then Arnold in 1966 discussed a number of cases in English. One of that is adverb forming "li" before the comparative er and adverb. For the example is quickly. The quickly derived from the adjective quick, right? And then has a quicker, it becomes comparative. And to more understand about that, I have another example for you. Another example of Aronoff's examples is the truncation of verb forming at suffixes like e, and able. For the example is nominate, it's become nominee, and then evacuate become evacuate and evacuant, and negotiate becomes negotiation and negotiable, and lubricate becomes lubricant. And then I will explain you about chapter 9.8. It's about back formation. Back formation is process in new words by deleting material form existing words. For the example is P for new singular, derived from originally monomorphemics, piece by preserving the final z as the plural morpheme. Okay, to more understand about it, I have examples for you. First example is pedal become peddler, and then injure become injury, and the last one is edit becomes editor. And then what's about compound verb? Compound verb is possible only in case the syntactic compound noun to which is related has an idiosyncratic meaning. For the example is to air condition becomes air conditioner for noun, and then to typewrite becomes typewriter for noun too, and then to spoon feed becomes spoon feed, it's for adjective. Okay guys, I think that's all for my explanation. Thank you very much for your good participation, and I think this is the last explanation of our material. I'm sorry for our mistake, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.